of this festival, coming from various backgrounds, from different places, to hear from and to be inspired in our life journey. We live in difficult times, times of war, power, addiction, corrupted politics, basically an Anthropocene, when humans are the overarching force in our planet, driving it to the edge in every sense. And this brings unique challenges for us living here and now. We need to get much more conscious about our role in this world, and we cannot do this alone. We are stronger by coming together, and that's what this festival is doing. Creating spaces for us to connect with each other and to be open and hear new ideas which can do real changes in our life. And this brings us perfectly back to Leona and her session, because hearing in person from someone with so rich life experience has the potential to influence us in this world of short tweets and staged Instagram profiles. Leona is certified transformation life coach and ecotherapist. She hosts the Connection Matters podcast and co-facilitates the Peace, Empowerment and Cultural Emergence course each year alongside Lobby McNamara. Leona spent many years involved in grassroots activism, helping to build countercultures through autonomous art spaces, being on the ground with movements such as Reclaim the Power and Climate Camp, as well as time spent in refugee camps in Greece and Gaza. What really shined out for me was the notion that after becoming a mother, she directed her action to be more grounded in her community at home and shifted focus to creating solutions for tomorrow rather than only battling the struggles of today, which I personally also favor. So now over to Leona and her workshop Activating Culture Emergence, Becoming the Culture We Need.
Good afternoon, everybody. Wow, it's always interesting hearing the talk about myself back, and it never, it's an interesting feeling, that sense of remembering where we've come from and where we are now. So I'm really grateful that you're all here. I'm going to start today by lighting a little candle, because I feel like what we're doing here, by joining together, by showing up, by choosing what we do with our time, and in this case, coming together to talk about and feel into cultural emergence, we are creating culture right from the inception. We are part of a group of people who are thinking about different ways of being, different ways of connecting, different ways of understanding where we've come from, where we are now, and where we're going. So I'm also lighting this little braid of sweetgrass. Has anybody read the book Braiding Sweetgrass? It's a very beautiful book if you haven't, and talks about our relationship to the other than human world. This sweetgrass was actually grown in Pembrokeshire in the UK, which took me on a journey of discovering really all the different ways that we and our ancestors have used sweetgrass. Used to be, many, many uses. And the way I'm using it, working with and inviting sweetgrass into the space, is to bring another being, another element, another point of connection. So we have fire. We have this beautiful braid of sweetgrass, which is creating what I know about sweetgrass is that it generates and calls in so much good energy that there's almost no space for the negative. So the fullness of all the goodness. And that's what I'm inviting here for this session. We are creating culture. And this symbolizes and generates good energy. And it's a form of medicine. It's a form of conscious creation that we're doing. So before I go any further, I'd love for you to just write in the chat where you're calling in from, and particularly, what are you feeling grateful for in this moment? What is in your heart? Starting from a place of gratitude. Suffolk Sunshine Family. Yeah, love that. Yorkshire Secular Humanist. Interesting. Sushi and cat. Beautiful. And for anybody else, if it's not easy for you to type, yeah. Oh, Vilnius, Lithuania, Czech Republic, nature, spring growth, Cumbria, New Zealand. Wow, we're really global here, aren't we? Calling in from the north of Germany, Brussels, hope to reconnect beyond the borders. Yeah, all the good stuff. So for me, and keep it coming. And if you do have any questions, feel free to write them as we go and I'll try and come to them. But for me, what we're doing here is we're creating a relational field. And we're co-creating a culture. A culture of participation, a culture of showing up, a culture of deep listening, a culture of learning and growing and evolving and being in that together strengthens all of it for us together. We, in a way, how when two individuals meet in a connected way, a third entity becomes into existence. We are doing that together. And so my intention for our time together today is that we leave not only with ideas, but with a deeper felt sense of the culture that we're longing for and for our place within it, which I believe is emergence, a place and time of emergence. And before we begin to actually talk about culture, I want to invite us in to arrive in relationship with ourselves and each other in the wider web that sustains us. So if it feels good to you, you might close your eyes and just arrive in this moment. Maybe you've got your feet on the ground, or just connecting with the whatever is beneath you, holding you, the solidity of the earth, allowing yourself to just be here now, connect with the breath. Connect with your fuller senses and connect right now in heart and mind with all those who've gone before us. Your paternal ancestors, your maternal ancestors, but also all the others that made and enabled we to be here right now. All the ones that created, that worked, that invented, that toiled, that survived. Those humans that enable us to turn taps on and get clean water, if we're lucky enough to have that. Those ones that made the bricks that were transported to build the houses and homes that we live in, if we're lucky enough to have them. Those ones that learned how to grow food in a way that enabled us to be able to purchase it and to grow through the nourishment that's been touched by human hands. But let's not forget the others, the other ancestors, the known and the unknown, the human and the non-human, the seen and the unseen. And then in these times, if we're creating this field between us, all of you that are here, we're also calling in support right now from all of those ancestors, the well and the wise ones, the ones that really, really have our backs. And we're tuning in to all those that are here and calling in a remembrance, an acknowledgement, and sending out pulses of gratitude and awareness to the the standing ones, the trees, the fruit trees, the bushes, the shrubs, the roots, the grasses, all the medicines, all those beings that feed us and clothe us and shelter us and warm us and heal us. Just breathe that in. That remembrance. And then, of course, there's all the flying ones, and all the walking ones, and the crawling ones, and all the swimming ones. And then, of course, when we go beyond this known world, we're into the universe, the sun and the moon and the stars and the winds. Really sending out those pulses of awareness and connection and relatedness to that field of existence that we exist within. We are fully part of, whether we know it and remember it or not. And then, moving forwards in time, there are the future generations for which we are all here, likely. All those future beings, human and non-human, that are really calling us to step up and step into a more connected way, a way that enables there to be a future. Just sending out a pulse of awareness to the next 7 generations, beyond the here and now. Sending a pulse of gratitude, of love, for the knowing that their existence matters, and the calling in of support in the non-linear way of time that we can do whenever we remember our part in the web of all things. And just breathe. Breathe all of that in. Within that field, we have the opportunity to send out pulses to all those who are resisting the struggles right now, who are existing in the struggles right now of these times. And also all those here in this space, each of you as individuals who are listening to this voice right now, in this live space or even in the recording. Send out a pulse of awareness to them. And gratitude, because you're here, they're here, and because they're here, you're here. And when you're ready, come back into this space. You might want to open your eyes, maybe even move your body. Remember how wonderful it is to have a body. And breathe the clean air. The culture that we long for begins in how we arrive. So I want to tell you a little bit of a story. I have recently been, a couple of weeks ago, I was down in Cornwall, the very, very tip of Cornwall, a place called Sancreed, which is at the toe of the toe. It's really literally 2 miles to each coast. So it was right down at the end. And I was there to co-facilitate a fire quest. So a fire quest is where a person would sit with fire from evening until sunrise, from sunset to sunrise, keeping the fire going through the night. It's a form of quest that one might do in times of challenge or growth. It's something that people have done in probably most cultures around the world since the beginning of time. And it's a beautiful, beautiful way of building relationship to the elemental world, the elemental part of humanness and life, and also deepening your relationship to yourself so that you can show up more fully in life. But what was so special about this time that I was there was that the land that we were working on 20 years ago was a field. And some people gathered at that time and decided that they were going to plant trees for the future generations. And I sometimes think, when we think of planting trees, we're doing it for the next 7 generations. It's so far away that we can really separate it from ourselves. But those people are still on that land, still hosting, tending the land. And now they're hosting gatherings where people can come together and hold ceremony and circle and community. And, it's amazing what happens in 20 years. It's a beautiful, thriving coppice. And this land, so lovingly tended, has been built with culture in mind, connected culture. There's a beautiful big round house, with a reciprocal roof that has, the potential for 30, 40 people to sit underneath around a fire. There's an outdoor kitchen. And for the purposes of this gathering, I was sat back at one point and I was watching, feeling, just seeing and feeling into what was going on in the space. And that morning we'd be woken up by people singing us awake, wandering around. There was a hearth fire keeping the water warm so that everybody always had warm drinks. There was people being in the kitchen preparing food, other people chopping wood. There were children running around. My daughter at one point was on top of the structure using a drill to fix the roof with some other adults that had asked her to come and help because she was light enough, and she was buzzing because I'd allowed her to not be in school because I felt this was more important. And there were 30, 40 people there, the youngest being 3 months old and the oldest in their 70s, and there was somebody in every decade, every generation, all the way through, working together for a shared purpose of connection and creating culture. And for me, this is what we're doing right now. We have the capacity to do this now in our own small ways. When I was in that space, I'd come from a very busy time. I arrived and within a few hours, my nervous system settled. I felt held and met. There were elders there whose purpose was to be an elder. We're not very good at that in our society, but they were there to catch stories, to look out for the people who needed extra support. There were people running around helping. There was song, connection, beauty. But what was most important was not what was being done and not what the people were doing, but it was how they were being, the qualities that they exhibited. So my question to you right now, holding all of that awareness, there will be people in your life who inspire you. You just feel that they're connected. What is it that you see in a person who is deeply connected to nature and community? Where that connection to earth and nature and presence is really alive in them. Is there, if you feel to, you could write in the chat just words of the kind of qualities that you see in those people. You know who I mean? They may be you, but we also hopefully know others who do that. What do you see in those people? Authenticity and love, presence, an openness and passivity of emerging events with a commitment to act if needed, rootedness, yes, sense of alignment, balancing action with stillness, yes, attention, lovely smile, lovely smile. anxiety. I feel like, what the things that all of those words together make up what we know, or what can be said to be a fully alive human being. Yeah? A fully alive human being exhibits what we call the the 8 attributes of connection. So this is where I want to share a little bit about the work that I've done to and the work that many of the people who were creating that village, for example, have done, self-realization, to get to this point. There's a man called John Young. I wonder if anybody's heard of John Young. He is somebody who worked with and for the purpose of exploring what are the optimum conditions for connection, and when those optimum conditions for connection are created, what does it look like? And he worked with a man called Gilbert Walkingbull, who was an elder of the medicine man grandfather from the Lakota. And when Gilbert Walkingbull came into the program of Nature Connection School, where John Young was doing his work 30 odd years ago, he just saw these attributes and he said, I have never seen all of these attributes in a person, in children, so readily as I see them here. And these attributes, he called them, these have been passed down through generations, being named. And I have an image of the attributes that I'll share here. Share. Here, can you see this? So he talks about, and John has added to this over time, quiet mind, creativity, childlike innocence and joy, vitality and motivation, having that, that abundance of energy, unconditional listening, and that commitment to mentoring in others, empathy and a felt sense of connection, meaning and purpose, and being really truly helpful. They actually changed it at one point to being actually truly helpful, really truly actually truly helpful, because sometimes what people are doing isn't helpful. They're thinking they're being helpful, but they're not listening. And then there's number 7, being grateful and reverent and living fully, and love and compassion. And then they've recently added this new one, which is the 9th one, which encompasses all of them, which is awareness. Yeah. These are the attributes that happen naturally. You couldn't cultivate, I mean, you can cultivate these, but you wouldn't decide, I'm going to be that. These things are what happens when a culture around a human is created that enables these to just naturally shine. This is what a fully alive, supported human being would exhibit if the cultural elements supported that. Does that make sense? So, yeah, I'm going to leave that for now. Stop share, sorry. So, what we got in the 8 Shields, this is, well, you heard a little bit about my background. The reason that I dived into this deep work so deeply was because I originally was a social worker. And the reason I chose social work is because as a child, I saw what was going on in the world, and I was just absolutely flabbergasted and astounded that I saw people starving on TV. And I'd always been driven to do something. I just didn't understand. So I tried activism. I tried climate camp. did show up and use my body to hold things back and be part of circles of people who were dreaming and pushing and holding and doing, these important holding actions. And I did go to Gaza, and I did go to refugee camps and set up women's spaces and lots of things. And in that time, I found that yes, these things are important, but how do we stop ourselves getting in that mess in the first place? How do we actually create a culture that is actually able to hold people before those things happen and get to a way of being that is a life-sustaining culture? So this is what brought me on a winding journey, as life often is, through eco-psychology, through finding the eight shields, through finding the book People and Permaculture, which was my little Bible for a little while, because what I did my permaculture training with Starhawk. I don't know if you know of Starhawk. She's quite a renowned activist and earth-based spirituality and permaculture leader. And what I understand is that we have all the technology that we need, and we even understand the systems that would make it work. The problem isn't that. The problem is the people. And I don't mean that in a negative way. It's like, but we have lost our way, and somehow we need to find our way back to being able to exist and coexist with each other and with the natural world. So the People in Permaculture book held me for a little while, got me into leading circles in my community, people in permaculture circles, and exploring systems thinking but then down the line I came across Luby McNamara's, who she wrote People in Permaculture, next iteration, which was the book Cultural Emergence. I'd been into Eight Shields for a while. My whole business was run under Eight Shields principles. And then what I discovered was that Luby and John Young had been introduced, and out of that came Cultural Emergence, which is now a toolkit for expanding our positive impact in the world, designed to support fertile emergence in our own lives, in our groups, and in our communities and the wider world. And it was a beautiful coming together of minds, both from different backgrounds, but also with the intention of understanding this very question that was my sacred question, culture. So I felt very privileged and honoured when Luby invited me to come and co-facilitate the Peace course with her, the Peace Empowerment and Cultural Emergence programme, which I've been doing for a few years now. And it really helped me to go even deeper. So my question to you now in this moment is, what is culture? What is culture? And if you want to share or write in the chat, just your initial thoughts. Obviously, it's many things, but usually many minds make and bring together the answer. What is culture? Human constructed ideas, collection of epistemological constructs, the Peron-made aspects of the world, shared values and meaning, shared beliefs and values. Yeah, you're on the same page. A set of generally agreed norms and objectives, stated or inferred. Person, yes, that makes sense. I was thinking there's internationals here. It could be something, I don't know. Mimetic imprint of emotional and intellectual being, a set of connected people that goes as normal and automatic. Yeah. And lots of other things. So in Cultural Emergence, we talk about culture being the story that we tell of who we are and what we value. So not dissimilar to what you've said. Yeah, the safety net for the context of our relationships. Yeah, and it is our shared understanding and language and stories and actions. And then it's also the collections of beliefs and ideas and values and priorities. The tricky bit comes when we realize that we are actually party to a lot of invisible agreements and assumptions and norms in how we relate and what is normalized and the inherited culture that we have been raised in, which takes a lot of time. So cultural emergence tends to ask, what if we became those conscious participants of culture creation? And the way that we do that in cultural emergence is through thinking about 3 phases. This is one of the things that I love about cultural emergence, because it recognizes transformation as a living process and something that we are all part of and that we do together. And in a way that kind of speaks to how we've got here through the culture of disconnection and the disconnection sickness of our times, which has led to so much separation. But our job now is to consider where, who are we becoming? So I'm going to share again the my slide and here, sorry, is the phases of cultural emergence. So the first one I'm going to say is what we call challenge and awaken. So if you are an activist or a person who has worked for quite a long time, it will be because at some point the culture around you challenged your knowing, your body, it challenged you. And you were awakened to this isn't right, or there's another way of doing this. You know, challenge and awaken brings us into that space of like kind of passion and power and wanting to make a difference. And it is the place of many of us who feel like we need to do something now. But when challenge and awaken is the only thing that we do, and we're pushing people and trying to awaken people up and trying to tell people, we often burn out. We often get to a point where what we're trying to do isn't effective because we physically can't do it, or the culture around us blocks us, or there isn't the systems in place that enable us, and it's not a good way of doing it. So we move into the phase of move and invigorate. So this phase is about forming, forming a way, a design process that enables us to consciously design. In cultural emergence, we use what we call the design web. So it's a non-linear process for looking at visions and patterns and limits and principles and ways of bringing that into being. And I could go on about the amazing design web that is part of the process, but I think what's important here is just to know that that is a thing, that good and conscious design creates sustainability, and it creates the place where what's awakened is in us in challenge and awaken to be envisioned and embodied. But even that, when we aren't looking at how we're resourcing ourselves, how we are interacting at a deeper level with the other than human beings and with life, can burn us out, can become dogmatic, can become a little bit closed. And this is where nourish and empower comes into being. Nourish and empower is the phase where we are really, really deeply connected to the bigger web, something other than ourselves, a way of being that allows us to be in relationship and remember more than what our thoughts and thinking mind might tell us. It's the place where when we're in that nourish and empower phase, we have the capacity to listen. And we're on the More Than Human Voices stage here. This is really where, tending to our cultural routines really matters, because those cultural routines are going to be what support us to continue to challenge and awaken and move and invigorate the system. So, sorry. So my question to you to consider in this moment is really, what in you right now is awakening? What's awakening for you? Is there something in your that's come into your awareness in recent times that is asking you which is showing you a way of being that's different to what you, just coming more into your sharpening into your awareness? The coming omniside. Yeah, excuse me, I just dropped my notes here. This can be a personal thing and it can be a global thing. Ecocide's revenge. Mm-hmm. And when we tune into this, is interesting, isn't it? Because as someone who's been involved in the climate movement for 20 odd years, I was having a conversation just this morning with someone who I met 10 years ago, who's a brilliant human, and who at the time wasn't interested, wasn't in the field, but who recently went to watch a film and became that state of awakened and challenged by the status quo, that she was just like full power. And it was amazing to be around her because she was in that kind of like, oh my goodness. And and she's done a lot of cultural emergence as well. So I was just like, ooh, this is it. This is it in action. This is what happens when we reconnect to. Yeah. So if people are saying, I'm going to read some of these out. But children and their emotional and physical needs matter. Yes. Some people, recognizing, feeling lost and stuck. And that's challenging, absolutely. Because when we are in alignment, we're not lost and stuck. But sometimes the life that we lead doesn't immediately make it possible for us to be able to live in alignment the way we would really, truly like to. And actually, we're not taught how to find our gifts, are we? And then there's the need for humans to become humble caretakers with respect of our part in the web of life, or we'll not make it, yes. Madeline says the importance of hope and ambition in desire for something better. The importance of gratitude, yeah. Actually learning the power of simplicity and simple practices like gratitude, which is small but so big. It could be everything. If we just lived in gratitude, we would live differently, right? Sometimes it gets passed off as positive thinking, but really, we are in the field. And for me, gratitude is about knowing all the many connections that make it possible for us to be alive in this one wild and precious life. Another thing somebody's been challenged by: the oligarchs are the problem and we should all unite against. And revolutionary organisation into cadres, I don't know that word, with commitment and responsibilities, learning better ways to work, to get dopamine joys, absolutely, and the enormous amount of healing needed everywhere. The importance of being for something and instead of against. Mm-hmm. Healing comes in connection. I love all of these. I think we should save this chat. Real dopamine, not hope. I mean, yes, having died on the operating table, I feel tremendous gratitude for medical science. Oof, yeah, wow, incredible. So there's lots of things that spark that that challenge and awaken part of us. But the next phase is how do we move and invigorate ourselves? How do we design something that looks and enables us to stay in that energy, but without burnout, without the sense of loss or fear, and part of that is starting to implement cultural routines that enable us to be. So new ways of gathering, new ways of organising, new ways of relating, new ways of designing culture consciously. Those are the things that happen in Move and Invigorate because we're implementing new systems. So things that I've been involved in doing that have been the rites of passage and generating ways of listening, circles, that kind of spaces where people come together to listen and actually connect in a way that supports and helps us feel that we're not alone in our grief. We're not alone in our desire for change. We're not alone when we're raising our children. So the question now is, what wants to emerge through you? What wants to emerge through you? And so before you even answer that, I'm going to ask you to just take a breath again and come back to that felt sense of presence that we were in right at the beginning. And really allow yourself to drop, because we can often go back up to the thinking mind, almost to a place of surrender, and ask, what am I feeling? What is it that wants to emerge through me, through my work or community? What is it that's, just whispering quietly from within? Sometimes it's like it's a whisper, a feeling, a knowing that we don't pay attention to because we don't stop for long enough to actually hear it or feel it. And when you get that feeling, that recognition, oh, I'm feeling something, ask again, what am I feeling? Something else might emerge and maybe it's completely different. And when you notice that thing, it's not about discarding it, but it's asking again. Then it's about asking again. What am I feeling about this? What wants to emerge? And of all those things, if maybe you have 3 different words or phrases or ideas now, when you think with your thinking mind or feel each of those, which one is the most alive? And ask inside, why? Why is this most alive? And if something comes, fine. If not, surrender again. It's about coming into that place of not thinking we know. And from this place, asking a further question of, how can I grow this? How can I learn with this? How can I heal this? Whichever one of those questions is most relevant. And surrender, soften, and wait for what comes. And breathe. Remembering that we're in a field, the field of connection with all of the others. Sometimes things come through that are quite unexpected. And sometimes it's something it's been sitting and hovering around for a while. So I'm going to invite you to breathe again. And if anything came, feel free to share what's come up through this short listening. What wants to emerge through your work or you or your community. And how can you help that grow or heal it or bring it into being? Feel free to write anything there. Notion that much simpler life is possible. Yeah, I wish for continuity of civilization. I feel tremendous sorrow. It's real, isn't it? So I wonder how that sorrow and the feeling of it, I wonder where that goes. Allowing, maybe it's an impulse to allow the feeling of that and then to see what comes. Yeah, fear, pure fear and disgust with myself. Yes, strong, isn't it, when we actually allow that to come through. So the question to sit with if you're feeling that strong feeling is, and how can I heal this? It isn't about, it's not about pushing that aside. It's really about actually allowing it to speak and knowing we are not that, and that we have the capacity then to listen again to what that power that is being connected with when we're part of the field that we create around us, which we can do anywhere where we are, wants to bring through us. There's another message. Allow the near silent voice within me to be heard, acted upon without analysing it. Yeah. Oh, I love this. The female side of Eros. This is bringing awareness that nature is both a supporter and a store of wisdom, wanting to create a bridge between people, especially children, and nature to foster a sense of belonging and connection into the world and our own self-healing, to build a culture of interrelatedness together. Love that. And how is this bringing up how important me demonstrating self-love is for other people? Absolutely. Even when I'm being weird, this is actually really hard for me to write as it feels so cheesy and privileged. Do you know what? Nobody gets anything. You know, we don't gain for ourselves or anybody else by being broken, actually. And this is what the third phase of cultural emergence is about: nourish and empower. You can't over nourish and empower yourself. You know, some people say when we do this in workshops, obviously it's a lot longer and bigger, and people say, well, then I could just sit on the sofa all day and do nothing, and it's like, but that's not nourishing. Actually, it's not empowering either. Sometimes that's all you can do because you're struggling for all the other reasons. But actually, nourishment is really allowing yourself to listen to that inner voice and giving yourself what you need so that you can then give fully and be that fully alive human. And that's what we do in the cultural emergence process that's called peace empowerment and cultural emergence, which is the main part of the process, which we do sometimes online, but largely it's an in-person immersion, which we happen to be doing in June. If anybody is interested in coming for a week-long experience of peace and emergent culture, because I do believe even though I've been studying this and trying to embody it, trying to bring it into my culture so often for the last 20 years, I still struggle in my own life to not be in the busyness, in the busy mind of doing, and being in that space, creating those spaces for yourself where you can actually be out of the tech field and out of the place where your roles and your social identity and your ascribed position, whether that's mother or father or teacher or whoever you are to others, where your humanity is leveled and you can just be amongst others who are really connecting with the other than human world. That's when you actually deepen that relationship that takes you to the next level. That level where you know how to listen and you know how to help others listen. And you know what the next thing for you to do is because you've given time and space to it. So, loving all these comments. Yeah. So one of the other things that I love about cultural emergence and being part of this side of the connected and creative culture is that we are generating a new language, a language that supports a new way of being. We cannot make a new culture from the language and ways of doing things that the oppressors have led us to. So cultural emergence, I never did show you this. Libby McNamara, who wrote this book, it's a bit blurry there, Cultural Emergence, the Toolkit for Transforming Ourselves and the World, which is good stuff in this book, She, with others, created a set of cards, a set of principles and a set of practices that enable us to start to develop and bring into our everyday a language that supports a life-sustaining culture that we really want to move into and grow into. So there are many, many principles, of course, because but for me, what that does is it brings about a that it's not rocket science, and it's not even completely new concepts. It's almost like it brings together all the good stuff, and the kind of what we might call common sense, but not everybody calls common sense. And it gives it the words and the principles so that they're all together in one space. So I'm going to show you an image of just 9 of the principles. And these principles are not rules, but they are invitations, ways of remembering to stay in relationship with life as we create change. So I'm going to share again this image. Which will... Here, this image here. Can you see? It's 9 different images. I'm just going to ask you to look at those intuitively, back from that bodily space. You know, maybe just close your eyes for just a breath and open and have a look at these images and see if you're drawn to one over the other. And maybe put in the chat the number of the one that you are curious about. Because, you know, we're trying to get out of our heads as well, and there's different ways of knowing. Okay, so we've got number 8 there. So number 8. Okay, that's... I'm going to stop the share now just so that I can show you the cards themselves. So this one is number 8, and these cards, this one's called Honor the Wisdom Within. All senses provide information. Every system holds wisdom. Use body intuition when designing. Solutions and answers are inside all of us. I love that. Honor the wisdom within. I wonder, whoever wrote that one down, number 8, if that speaks to you, to where you are, if that actually corresponds to something that you need to hear right now. I'm curious. Maybe you can let me know. The next one, many of you wrote 8. I'd love to know if that speaks to you. So the Kushla said number 1, which is this one, right? Sorry, there's, I had to do it. And that one is presence in the process. Presence in the process. So here it says gain clarity about the process. Observe what is actually happening right now. Lose attachment to outcomes. And then soar on life's thermals, which I guess speaks to the image here. Presence in the process. So this one has really supported me in times where I like to know things. I like to know where I'm going. And actually, often we forget that actually right here is the place where we're creating from. So whatever we create next is going to be created by the version of you in this moment. So if you're not present, if you haven't done the work to be grounded and connected and grateful, to release the grief, to actually allow it to be, and you're creating from fear and contraction, what you create next is going to be fed by that. So presence in the process is really, really powerful. I'm curious if whoever wrote number 1, if got a response from that. Yeah, Fiona said 8, and yes, it does. Number 4. Let me see what number 4 was. That's this one. Is that right? Number 4. This one is your body knows. Ask your body and listen for responses. Your body knows how to be uniquely you. Follow your internal radar. Nice. I'm just going to keep going just to make sure we get through the ones that everybody chose. I think number 7 is the next one. I love this one. So this one is anyone. Are these backwards for you as well? They're backwards when I show them. Doesn't matter. Anyway, anyone can raise the vibration. I mean, that's powerful, right? Empower the group to explore new territory, bring energy into the system, and release control. So you being you and really cultivating that full aliveness with all of those attributes of connection brings into a group an energy that is infectious. And then we release control, because all we can be really is ourselves. So who are you choosing to be in every moment? And how are you then creating from that place? And what is it that you're listening for that wants to happen? And what are you missing through contraction? Because life often gives us so many windows to try things, do things, be things, join things. And we either go with that, or we get stuck and we miss things.
Sorry, I just want to jump in shortly because this
It's
session
on
was
time.
planned for a time.
Yeah.
So we nobody is kicking out from us from this space, so there is no rush. I just want to say that there could be other sessions going on around, so maybe someone has planned something, some other session. So just so you are aware of it, I think we can very nicely go for 10-15 minutes here. I just want to let you know that now we are on time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Well, really, I had one question to leave you with. Firstly, have a little look at those principles and tune into if what about them speaks to you right now. The question is, what is one cultural pattern that you want to consciously nourish in your life and community? And in terms of what we've spoke about today, what have you remembered about the culture that you want to live in? I'm just going to pop those in the chat. And then for those who can stay, I'm going to read a poem, which I think kind of beautifully informs and summarizes much of what you've shared and in the chat, and also what I believe we're here for. So those are the questions. So thank you for anyone who needs to go now for another session. I'm so grateful to be able to share this with you, and I'd love for any of you to come and join me and Luby in Herefordshire in June if you are curious about that. Let me just add in a link to that in case anybody is interested. Here we go. There's the link to the Cultural Emergence course. And then I'm going to read you a poem to end. So if you're here for the duration, find that space of deep listening, and you might want to just close your eyes and just allow this to wash over you for a moment. This is the Cultural Emergence poem from the book. This cultural emergency calls for cultural emergence, a breaking through, a breaking free of cultures, of isms and schisms, of gun culture, war culture, rape culture, fear culture, greed culture, waste culture, chemical culture, of corporations controlling our culture, polluting our culture, peeling back the layers of oil smothering our culture. Can we connect our roots into the earth and reach out to fellow beings and show our care? Can we cultivate a responsibility culture, a friendship culture, a kindness culture, a justice culture, a safety culture, peace culture, a culture of innovation, resilience and hope? Can we name and create the culture we want? a visionary, regenerative culture? Can we shift our priorities, phobias, patterns, parameters, opinions, and assumptions? Can we bend or bury our beliefs? Will we? Will we reflect, connect, respect the collective? Direct our objections to the system that promotes disconnection, challenge, not blame, name and reframe, shift our perspective to gain a directive that allows us to be receptive to the interconnected web, vibrating with every step. Disrupt the pattern to awaken challenge and begin to unravel cords of conditioning to release the story and create space for visioning, allowing the possibility of the seemingly impossible to motivate and invigorate the genius inside of us. Activate and initiate, appreciate and celebrate, collaborate and participate, to co-create and facilitate the desire to germinate and take control of our fate, moving away from this state of emergency into a state of cultural emergence, where we use emergence to support emergence, with the divergence and convergence of minds, creating designs with the intelligence of cooperating hearts to give us a start on this path of empowerment, to bring fulfillment and deep nourishment. It requires commitment to trusting the process and opening to osmosis of the mystical and magical, to be alchemical with the mathematical for practical and logical action, to bring connection and emerge the solutions for manifestation of personal and global transformation. Thank you, everyone.
So perfect. Thank you. Thank to you, Leona, for this wonderful workshop. I think it was really wonderful and I really hope that each of us will bring something from this to our like next life, life after this. And this is what I want to just encourage everybody to go through it once more. I know it's full day today, but still it's good to try to let something shine in our life. There is the open space all the day, so you can head there and have a chats with the people being here. You can see a lot of praise from the participants. Thank you so much. Could you tell us the author of the poem? Beautiful sessions, very much hearts or everything. And we have Leona shared with us the course, so whoever of you want to go further in this really interesting direction, think about a course, which will be something very wonderful, I think, to have it in real, because still this online space can offer something, but being there, being about around the fire, it's something very, very different. So I encourage everybody to think about this more. I have here some list of generic links which I should post to you, but you probably know them about this festival, so I do it. So I am not, I am the nice guy here. And yeah, that's end. Thank you everybody for being here, for sharing your feedback in chat. I think there was one question which we missed, but unfortunately, I think the author of this question already left, so we will leave it like this. And yeah, thank you, Launa, once more. this is end of this session. I will wait here for you to leave, not end this session abruptly for you, but you can, I think it's time to leave. For me, definitely time to go to have a lunch.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Heineck.